What's up, Cosmetic family?
Thanks for joining us on the Cosmetic Podcast.
Cosmetic means being a person, a thing that gives rise to a phenomenon that is dynamic or energizing.
We're tackling topics and telling the truth.
I'm Keith Fitz.
And I'm Rodrigo Ross.
And so today we're talking about fail forward.
Failing forward, not backwards.
Not backwards.
Not backwards.
Nope, we gotta fail forward.
Okay, so here's the groundwork. Here's the premise, right? This whole idea of failing forward. Failing forward means to purposefully and deliberately use a failure to find your next success, right? To fail forward, you have to do something that you're not afraid of failing at and trying something that you're not afraid of doing, knowing that you could use that possible failure as the engine and the framework that you need for your next success.
And failure is just a part of, everyone's journey.
Yeah, it is.
No,
not so much mine.
You perfectionists that are out there, understand that there is nothing perfect on this earth.
Except a good pair of shoes.
Well, nah, because not all shoes fit you right.
But there's that perfect shoe.
Yeah, but even the perfect shoe wear out after a while. You can't wear it right. So it ain't perfect.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
You just pop. That was my bubble bursting.
There you go. Yeah. So regardless whether you are an inventor, you're a great athlete, it really doesn't matter. I mean, failure is just a part of everyone's success.
Yeah.
Thomas Edison said, "I have not failed.
Never.
I just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
Well, wait a minute, optimist, Thomas Edison.
Because see, now, do you ever use WD-40?
Well, I've seen people use it. I don't want to use that because it might mess up my nails.
Well, WD-40, that's probably one of the great, if you're a new homeowner, get you some WD-40.
And now, I have seen people use it for everything. All kinds of stuff.
So it's like the magic lubricant that just, if something's rusted, boy, you just squirt, put a couple of those up there.
It's magic?
It's magic.
Wow.
It's magic. Okay. I've seen something that I can't unscrew or something and like, put a couple of drops of WD-40,
Next thing you know.
And then, if your door is squeaky, you squirt, a couple of those up there, and all of a sudden, the noise is gone.
Well, let me go check out some WD-40 then.
So you said, why are we talking about some WD-40?
Well,
so the name comes from the fact that the formula represents the 40th attempt.
Get out! That's where the name
to create
comes from?
this degreaser and rust protection.
What? Wow.
Right.
I would have never in a million. I thought it was, like some really fancy formula, carry the one kind of thing.
Now it did originally used to be for aerospace industry, but then it became this, common household product right now that so many people use.
Well, I want to know what happened to WD-23. Where's that formula?
But can you imagine that if that would have stopped? I mean, so for the folks who use I would imagine not too many households don't have a can of WD-40
or some derivative, because I'm sure now there are all kinds of knockoffs, right?
So WD-40, you can't use the same one that you may use for your house on a bike. So there's a different one there. And then, like, if you got a garage door, you got to keep that lubricant. There's a different one that you use for that.
But it's all the same concept.
All the same concept.
Wow.
And all because of that 39 times it didn't work.
Wow. And not only do you have things that fail, you have people who fail, right? And some of the people that we idolize, like there are a list of, I'm going to tell you drop a couple of names, see if I can make your eyebrows raise just a bit on some fails. So you already said Thomas Edison was one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Another one, Abraham Lincoln.
What Big Abe do?
So Big Abe, number one, he lost a race that he was in to be the speaker in the Illinois House of Representatives. He lost the bid for the state legislature. He got fired from his job. Like, Abe went through a thing or two before he actually kind of found himself in this pivotal space as the president of the United States and the crafter, or at least heavily influenced in the crafting of the Emancipation Proclamation. Albert Einstein.
President Lincoln.
Thank you, President. Albert Einstein. He was an insurance salesman because he just didn't know what he wanted to do. He graduated from school. He struggled. He dropped out. He had terrible grades.
Time out.
Albert Einstein. What's a failure?
Now, isn't that like the one of the smartest men that's probably ever lived?
Yep.
And he was an insurance salesman?
Brilliant mind.
Okay.
Was an insurance salesman and had terrible grades and dropped out and went back and struggled in school.
Well, let me tell you about a little bubble wrap.
Okay.
Bubble wrap, you know, we just pop.
That stuff is addictive.
I know,
When
right?
you start popping one bubble, you gotta pop the whole sheet.
Right.
Love it.
So bubble wrap, okay, in 1960, it was in an attempt to create this trendy new textured wallpaper.
Wait a minute, hold on. Bubble wrap was supposed to be wallpaper?
Can you imagine?
At first, yes, because I would run into those walls, right?
Like,
just to pop them. But then when they all popped, what do you do with that saggy plastic on your wall? Like, what?
Right. And then that was just a total failure, right?
Oh, wow.
And then later, there was an attempt to market it as a housing insulation.
But what if it pops? Then there's no Wow.
But it wasn't until IBM used it to package up their newly launched computer doing transportation, transporting from one place to another, that it became this overnight success.
What? That is amazing. I'm so glad, because if I would go to someone's house now that would have bubble wrap wallpaper, I'd be like, let's meet somewhere else. I don't even want to go to the house anymore.
That's when I saw that one right there, I was like, huh? There was this failure though.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you have this huge success. So we're talking about failing forward.
So another famous fail forwarder, Michael Jordan. So do you know that Michael Jordan went out for his high school varsity basketball team and didn't even make it? He didn't make the team.
Pretty common knowledge now, you know.
Well, yeah, but still, that was a failure, and it's like not Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan, like there shouldn't have been anybody else on the team but Michael Jordan.
But do you know he still uses that today?
Because it's true, right? And because that failing forward. So there's this idea that little kids, I was reading something, you know, when you have your first kid and you want to read all of this stuff and they have all of these books that tell you all these parents and stuff, and they were talking about why you shouldn't always put your baby in the walkers. You know, little babies have the little walkers. And because I was like, oh, we gotta get a walker, and it has to be all high dollar because I don't want my baby to fall and this and that. And they said walkers actually make it where it takes longer for babies to learn how to walk. Like that falling down and getting up is what helps them learn how to walk. And I was thinking, that is true. I don't know if I've ever seen a baby who just one day just decided to get up and walk.
Yeah, right.
I would be weirded out if a baby did that.
Now, I'll tell you about the pacemaker.
Okay.
The pacemaker, and I'm glad for a pacemaker, right?
Okay.
Because my board chair, Dee Ellington.
Love her.
Love her. Just recently got her heart transplant.
Yay!
She wore a pacemaker for years. But a pacemaker used to be the size of a television.
Well.
Now, we ain't talking about the flat screen either. So
you had to carry this thing on the outside of your body? There's no way they're putting it on the inside.
And so Wilson Greatbach, he made a mistake that revolutionized medicine. So when building a heart rhythm recording device, he pulled out the wrong size resistor and plugged it into the circuit. And said when he installed it, he realized it sounded like a human heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
But with some work, he got it to become a little bit smaller to about 2 cubic inches.
2 cubic inches.
And now the result is we got a pacemaker here. Thousands upon thousands of lives have been, people being able to go on and live on.
That is amazing. A simple mistake.
A simple mistake. A pacemaker goes from the size of a television to 2 cubic inches.
And so what if, he would have plugged that circuit in wrong and wouldn't have even taken a moment to stop and say, oh, wait a minute, what did I just create? He would have just yanked that out because he was so intent on doing it the way he had originally. He would have missed an amazing opportunity to kind of recalibrate. And that lends to this idea of failing fast. Mm-hmm. You know what failing fast is?
Talk to me about it.
So failing fast is this philosophy that values failure and try again and extensive testing and incremental development and keeping up processes that make things better and better. Like, keep doing it, take a minute, it's wrong, do it again, keep doing it, don't fail, sit in it, wallow, put it on the shelf for 7, 10, 11 years. Oh, that didn't work, I'm never trying it again, I'm never looking at that, I'm going all the way back to square one. Fail forward says no. Like, look at it, look at the pieces that work, look at the pieces that didn't, keep doing it, try it again, and make these incremental gains until you get to your next grader.
So Thomas Watson Sr. With IBM, he said that the fastest way to succeed is to double your failure rate.
I think I believe that. I believe that. Because just personally, the greatest things I've ever done have come after the biggest mess ups. The quicker I messed up.
And that's why you're so great today.
Well, I think that was some shady compliment. What?
Well, it's one of these, it's just out here also is that the failure tolerant leader. And so how are you that leader that is accepting of, people failing? And
there are some that are not.
That's a tough place to be, right?
Yeah. But is it really? If you set the parameters, like, here is the third rail, right? So this idea of the third rail, like the trains have the third rail that that's depth, right? So that's the CLM. But everything else is a little bumps and bruises, you'll live or whatever. So who is it more uncomfortable for? Is it more uncomfortable for the leader because they don't feel like dealing with the failure, or they have their own personal success wrapped up in someone else's work, or is it for the person who failed?
But you also got to have the culture of the organization that's tolerant of that right there.
Now that's true.
I mean, because it's the failure that's going to get towards the innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have the greatest hit of all times just, after the first song that you write. I mean, that's just one in a lifetime chance for somebody to be able to do something like that. But if you want innovation, you got to allow people to be able to fail.
Wow. So you got to kind of look at your systems and policies and practices. Like, when people mess up, what do you do to them? Is it punitive? Are people written up? Are they suspended? Or are they giving a stern talking to? Right? Like, are you documenting everything and building these dossiers on people? Are you bringing it up again? Right? People are always constantly reminded. You remember 10 years ago when you didn't turn the water off in the pump room and the right? It's like,
and it's like, let that just be the funny story because of the life. Our own CEO, Kirk Hazelbaker. I mean, I think I'm okay. Well, he told it on the podcast, so I'm gonna say it again.
Okay.
Like, Kirk wrecked the bus.
Oh yeah, I remember. He crashed the bus.
In front of the police station.
In front of the police station. That was an epic fail.
And that wasn't the only time. I think he got 3 on his record, if I'm not mistaken.
So epic.
And now it's his second go round as being the CEO. Winston-Salem. Now here in Dallas. So I mean, you need to be able to have failure in order to move forward.
Right. What if they would have just said, toss him out, the baby with the bathwater idea, right? Just toss him out, start all over. He's terrible. The movement could have lost a pivotal leader.
Yeah, I mean, even Steve Jobs got let go before Apple really turned itself all around.
What? They fired him? He failed that bad? What did Steve do?
Now, who amongst us don't own some type of Apple product today?
Well, eat an apple, looked at an apple, stood by an apple. Apple is he has revolutionized this whole Apple thing. Like,
right.
How many people, when you say Apple now, they actually think about the fruit? Right? Like, I don't even think people, that's how he's revolutionized that. But he did it after being fired and after failing terribly.
I mean, even when I think about in the gaming, so I get the opportunity to lead esports for our association, and so I think back to Nintendo. Like, Nintendo had some epic fails, but now all of a sudden, the 2 characters that they created, Mario and Luigi, like, that just changed the history of American gaming altogether.
Yeah. And I mean, I wonder if their very first iteration, like the very first thing that they created, if they just put it out and it just took off, it was like wildfire, or did they have to backtrack and be like, we apologize, this gaming system kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, but you in any process that you're going to start, you're going to have some bumps along the way, some hurdles that you got to cross. You're going to have those things. But are you willing to stick with that until that thing becomes a success that it probably needs to be?
Right.
I mean, but you got to make up in your mind how you're going to do that type of work right there, and it takes some certain level of discipline to be able to do that. And you don't always need a bunch of money. Most projects don't start off because somebody's a multimillionaire and then it pops off. Now, having some revenue in your pocket, now that does, help out things a little bit.
Wow.
But a lot of discipline will go a long way as well.
It will go a long way. And so getting back to the people, right, who fail forward. Mark Cuban, did you know
Dallas
Mavericks, Mark Cuban had started a micro solution software company and sold it for millions and millions of dollars later. But why did he get into that micro solution selling software business? Because he had failed horribly at being a bartender. He was trying to be a bartender.
Mark Cuban, a bartender.
And he failed because he could never open a bottle of wine without the cork falling in. And I could see where that would be frowned upon in the bartending world.
I wonder, did he still use the bottle?
I don't know. He tried to be a short order cook, right? So this whole restaurateur in that business with people couldn't do it because he could never get the food ready on time. He could never get the taste right. Poor man. He just couldn't find his niche
Mark
in the
Cuban,
restaurant world.
Bartender and short order cook.
Yep.
That's an interesting.
Fail.
You got to be able to overcome your fear of failure. Yeah. And a lot of people allow that fear to get in their way so that they don't go on and do the things that they're most passionate about.
Yeah.
And that's that fear can become.
It could be debilitating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very,
you really
very
don't
much
feel
so.
like you're resourceful enough to rebound.
But you just got to accept the failure, because that's just part of the process itself.
Yeah. Except that thing failed, that you're not a failure, right? I think maybe people mix that up. Like this,
I like that.
This
like
one
that
thing you tried that failed, but you're not a failure. You can come back from this. You can do something different. You can recalibrate.
And don't stay down in the dumps. Like bounce back, get up. We're talking about failing forward. We're not talking about failing backwards and you lay it on your back and. No, we're talking about failing forward so you can get up. You push your arms up, push your legs up, and we keep on striding.
That's what they have to do.
You gotta see my arms in motion right now. My legs moving.
Striding, y'all.
You can't lay down and sulk in that whole process right there.
Which sometimes it might be easy to do. Like
very easy.
It could be really easy, and you could look up and be like, "Wow, I've been sad for a really long time." That's another reason why you got to get people close to you to tell you the truth and be like, "Okay, look, you're just wallowing now. Like you gotta come out of the other side of this thing."
Yeah, build you a circle of people that you can. And I'm gonna say, when I say build your circle, sometimes it's not gonna be your peers because your peers sometimes, because they like you a whole lot, they want to tell you what you think you should know,
right? Or what they think you want to hear,
right?
Yeah.
Versus what you need to know in order to move forward. So make sure you got a good board of directors around you so that they can give you. People who are seasoned in there. I hang out with Rodrigo Ross a lot because she tells the truth.
Well,
yeah, and she's seasoned, and so she's had some experiences.
Really? You saw how you snuck that in? You couldn't have just put the period after tell the truth.
What?
That should have been the end of the.
Can we do the podcast,
okay,
please?
Let's do it.
Thank you very much. Okay. You need people who's going to tell you the truth.
Absolutely.
And people who've had some experiences in life and such, some that may be different from what you have. Mm-hmm. And so that's your board of directors. That's that personal network that's surrounding you, that's going to support you, that's going to carry you through till you get to your next grade. Like I said, WD-40 just didn't become.
It's the 40th one.
It's the 40th time.
What if nobody would have told them at WD-32? Get yourself together and keep going.
Right.
We wouldn't have had WD-40.
Yeah.
I love it.
Dope. Look at all those good results around the failing part of things, because it's essential that in order for you to succeed, you're going to probably fail somewhere along the way.
Yeah. Like that's that whole idea of being intentional and building your optimistic viewpoints, right? Like everyone, I would think most people can always find the downside in anything, but you really do have to work at being optimistic and finding the good in stuff, even when it is kind of difficult, right? So you got to build that skill.
Even Wheaties, you know, we know Wheaties Olympics is right now.
The breakfast of champions.
You know, we're gonna see here in a few weeks. The whole Wheaties box gonna change. Gonna have some Olympians with some gold medals on there. But you know what? They ain't always been the breakfast of champions.
Well, what was it?
So one day, this dietitian working at the Washburn Crosby Company.
Oh.
And so
that's a mouthful.
Right. And so they just happened to spill some of the product on top of the stove. And then all of a sudden, the gruel, it crackled into flakes.
Wait a minute. By mistake, they made it a flake?
It spilled on the top of the stove.
But it was like some doughy kind of wet something that spilled and cooked by mistake.
And then when they tasted, it's like, it's better than what...
What did they do?
It's better than what the original product was. But look, it took them 36 times for that company to come to that tasty flake that now we know that that we call Wheaties today. And
well, next time my son spills something on the stove, I might give him a pass because he might be on the verge of creating the next great breakfast cereal.
There you go. And then because they partnered with professional baseball, became this marketing arm right there. It just took off, and we know Wheaties today is the breakfast of champions.
That is amazing. I can't believe it spilled and then it turned into a flake. All of that to say, silver lining some things, right?
Yes,
like you just gotta believe that things happen for a reason and that there is some learning even in your failures. They help you conquer your fear. They help you get better. They help you learn. Heck, in a failure, if you didn't learn what to do, you certainly learned what not to do. Right. So take that and run with that.
Even when my man Jaden Naismith was creating basketball, you know, he had this idea at the YMCA. He had this idea, you know, we're gonna put this peach basket up. Well, first of all, he ain't put no he ain't cut the hole out in the bottom of the peach basket.
So when the ball went way up there in the basket. And then what? The game was over? What then what? Like, somebody had to keep climbing up there to get that doggone.
Yeah, but look where that's evolved from now is that you can imagine that a peach basket is probably only but so sturdy, right? So eventually they cut the hole in the bottom.
Or it just broke out.
Yeah, but, you know, we're talking about a basket, you know, that, again, kind of fragile when you're talking about a ball going up against.
A whole sport, a whole genre, a whole lifestyle was created from a peach basket that the bottom wasn't cut out in the beginning, that it was kind of an epic fail. Like, we should be getting residual checks from
somebody
all of these basketball players because
somebody should be writing a wire check.
They should be writing a wire check.
But what is the failure that you're working on right now that's going to become the next greatest thing that's out there? Whether that's if you're the program director that's listening to this, if you're the CEO that's listening to this, what is the failure that you are working on so that people can come, you know, so it can become their next great? And then also your leaders that are listening to it, you know, how are you more tolerant of people failing in your organization? Yeah. And that's pretty big. You may say that you are, but, you know, again, I call myself, I'm guilty of that sometimes too, is that you want to put people out there, but sometimes, you know, it can't go there. But we have to be able to give folks some room to be able to fail so that they can do the next greater.
So they can fail forward.
That's what it's all about.
Love it. Well, thank you guys for listening to Cosmetic.
Hey, where we're tackling topics and telling the truth.
Subscribe, listen to us weekly, and don't be shy. Give us a 5-star review.
And as always,
be dynamic,
be phenomenal,
be cosmetic.